The mall was quiet in that slow afternoon way, when footsteps echoed a little longer and the light from the high ceiling felt softer than usual. Daniel moved his cleaning machine carefully across the marble floor, steady hands, practiced rhythm, the kind that comes from years of doing the same work with dignity. He was 42, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes that had seen both struggle and small victories. A few feet away, his son Malik knelt on the floor, playing with a small toy car, rolling it along the tiles, making quiet engine sounds under his breath. Malik was 5, curious, gentle, and always watching his father with quiet admiration. Daniel paused for a moment and looked at him, a soft smile forming. "Stay close, son," he said in a calm voice. "Always," Malik replied, not even looking up, because to him, staying close was never a question. At the far end of the hall, heels clicked sharply. A woman walked in, her posture straight, her expression tense, her phone pressed tightly in her hand. Her name was Vanessa Clark, 38, the kind of woman people noticed without trying. She wore white, elegant, controlled, but today there was something unsettled in her eyes. Beside her walked a small boy, Oliver, around 5 years old, dressed neatly, holding her hand but slightly dragging behind. "Come on, Oliver, we are already late," Vanessa said, her voice tight with pressure. Oliver nodded, but his steps were uneven. Daniel noticed them only briefly, then returned to his work. Life had taught him not to stare too long at people who lived in a different world. But something changed in a heartbeat. A small cough. Then another. Daniel turned his head. Oliver had stopped walking. His small hand went to his throat. Vanessa looked down, confused at first. "Oliver." No answer. The boy's face began to change, a faint panic rising. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Vanessa's expression shifted from impatience to fear. "Oliver, what is it? Speak to me." The boy staggered slightly. Daniel was already moving. The machine stopped, forgotten. His eyes locked onto the child, years of instinct taking over. "Stand back, I have got this," he said firmly, his voice calm but commanding. Vanessa hesitated for half a second, just enough to show she was not used to being told what to do. But fear overruled pride. Daniel knelt beside Oliver, his movements careful, precise. He gently turned the boy, checking quickly. "Choking," he said quietly, mostly to himself. Malik stood frozen, watching his father, his small hands clenched. Daniel positioned Oliver, his arms firm but gentle. "Come on, son, breathe," he murmured. A quick motion, controlled pressure. Once. Twice. Vanessa covered her mouth, her eyes wide, tears already forming. "Please, please," she whispered. On the third motion, something small dislodged. A piece of candy fell onto the floor. Oliver gasped, air rushing back into his lungs. A fragile, beautiful sound. Vanessa dropped to her knees immediately, pulling him close. "Oh my God, Oliver, oh my baby." The boy clung to her, still shaking, but breathing. Daniel leaned back slightly, letting out a quiet breath he did not realize he had been holding. It was over. For a moment, the world stood still. Then Vanessa looked up at him. Her eyes were different now. Not sharp, not distant. Grateful. "You saved him," she said softly, her voice breaking. Daniel shook his head gently. "Just did what needed to be done." Malik ran over and hugged his father from the side. "You did it, Dad," he said proudly. Daniel placed a hand on his son's head, his expression warm. Vanessa watched that moment, something deep inside her shifting. She had seen power before, money, influence, control. But this was something else. Something real. "What is your name?" she asked. "Daniel Carter." "And this is my son, Malik." Vanessa nodded slowly. "I am Vanessa Clark." There was a pause, a quiet understanding passing between them. Daniel stood up, brushing his hands lightly against his uniform. He glanced at the cleaning machine, then back at them. "Take it easy for a while," he said kindly. "The boy will be fine." Vanessa nodded again, still holding Oliver close. "Thank you, Daniel." He gave a small nod and returned to his work, as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But for Vanessa, everything had changed. Later that evening, in a quiet office high above the city, Vanessa sat alone. The lights were dim, the city stretching endlessly beyond the glass. Oliver slept on the couch nearby, peaceful, safe. Vanessa stared at her hands. She had built her life on control, on precision, on always being ahead. But today had reminded her of something she had forgotten. How fragile everything really is. And how sometimes, the people who matter most are the ones we overlook. The next morning, the mall was busy again. Daniel arrived early, as always. Routine was comfort. Malik sat nearby with a small book this time, tracing letters with his finger. Daniel worked quietly, focused. Then he heard footsteps again. He looked up. Vanessa stood there, but she was different today. Softer somehow. More present. Oliver stood beside her, holding her hand, but this time he smiled. "Hi," Oliver said shyly. Daniel smiled back. "Hey there, champ." Vanessa stepped forward. "I wanted to thank you properly. And to apologize." Daniel frowned slightly. "For what?" "For not seeing people like you before." Her words were honest, unguarded. Daniel studied her face for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Life has a way of teaching us," he said. Vanessa took a small breath. "I own this building." Daniel blinked once, surprised but not impressed. "I see. And I would like to offer you something better. A supervisor role, better pay, stable hours." Daniel looked at Malik. Then back at Vanessa. "Why?" "Because you earned it. Because you showed more leadership in one moment than most people do in years." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head gently. "I appreciate it, truly. But I am already where I need to be." Vanessa seemed taken aback. "But you deserve more." Daniel smiled, a calm, grounded smile. "More is not always about money. I get to bring my son with me. I get to be present in his life. That matters more than a title." Malik looked up at him, eyes shining. Vanessa felt something tighten in her chest. A realization, quiet but powerful. She had given her son everything. Except time. She knelt down beside Oliver. "What would you like to do today?" she asked softly. Oliver looked surprised. "Can we just stay together?" Vanessa nodded, her eyes warm. "Yes, we can." She stood up and looked at Daniel again. "You taught me something yesterday." He shook his head. "Life did. We just listen when it speaks." There was a gentle silence between them. Then Vanessa extended her hand. Daniel shook it, firm and respectful. "Thank you." He nodded. "Take care of him." "Always," she replied. As Vanessa and Oliver walked away, hand in hand, slower this time, more present. Daniel watched for a moment. Then returned to his work. Malik came closer and leaned against him. "Dad." "Yes, son." "Are we rich?" Daniel paused, then smiled. "In the ways that matter, yes." Malik nodded, satisfied. Years later, that moment would stay with all of them. Not because of fear, but because of what it revealed. That dignity does not come from status. That kindness crosses every boundary. That real wealth is measured in presence, not possessions. And that sometimes, the quietest people carry the strongest hearts. If this story touched you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments what part stayed with you the most.